Well, listen, we're going to bring up Kevin Van Eck.
Yeah.
Kevin Van Eck, the best-looking guy at App Properties, is going to come on up.
Oh, the DMS is up. The DMS is up. Okay, cool. Where is Kevin?
Kevin, like Thad said, when we do something, we like to do the same thing over and over again. So you know I'm never going to stop. You even got the pocket square today. Look how good you look.
What's that? Oh, thank you.
Daily actions have a compounding force that starts small. We don't all start small, but has an immeasurable impact on results.
Correct.
When fewer than 5% of people get to where they want to go, Kevin Van Eck shows how focus can impact your business and your life so you can achieve all goals.
This is better than any introduction I could have hoped for.
This is all you, Kevin.
Thank you.
I will listen very closely.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. Good afternoon. Everyone having a good time? Yes? Okay. Fabulous. All right, so I want to tell a story. I want to start with a story. Do you want me in that? Or? Okay. Okay.
I got to get a selfie with him so I can post it.
Oh, do it. Let's do a selfie.
I'm going to take the social media class after this because I don't know how to post anything. Selfie. Selfie.
We'll do it. Well, we did the pounds. Did everyone see the pounds in the video that went out, the newsletter? No? Okay.
Jesus.
Good. Perfect. Great. All right, thank you.
I got a lot of chins.
Tag me. All right. All right, so today I want to start with a story. I want to talk about Simon. Simon, he's a broker. And so this is a real broker. His real name is not Simon, or it would be embarrassing for this person. But Simon got into the business about 5 years ago. And Simon, when he first got into the industry, he was really, really excited. He got his license, like most brokers, really excited to go into a new industry, learn new things. He took all of the classes. He started doing everything that everyone taught him. And so as he was doing these things, his business started to happen. First, it was his parents. He got his parents' listing because they were looking to downsize. And so he got that. And then his friends started coming out, and his friends started buying and listing with him. And at the end of his first year, at the end of Simon's first year, he'd accumulated about $3 million in volume. Pretty good, right? But what happened after that first year? He became caught up in the transactions. He became complacent. He sat back and he thought his business was on autopilot. And so what happened? Nothing happened. He was on the roller coaster of real estate. And that's what I've got behind me. Does this look familiar? Whether it's your income, whether it's the market, whatever it is, there is a roller coaster of real estate, and too often we set ourselves up for it. And so what I want to talk about today is how to change it to this. A constant upward path to success instead of the up and down. When we talk about success, let's talk about success. I don't just mean it financially. I don't just mean that you're rich. I don't just mean that you're earning $500,000 a year. I mean you're healthy. I mean that you have love in your life, that you have great relationships, that you've surrounded yourself with great people. And then, of course, financial stability. That's what I consider success. Would you? It's not just financial. There's a lot involved. But what one author tells us, and it's Jeff Olson from The Slight Edge, what Jeff tells us is that only 5% of us, only 5% of the population actually gets to where they want to go. I'm making an assumption here. I'm assuming that all of us actually want to be part of this 5%, that all of us want to be financially stable and healthy and have love and relationships and feel like we have accomplished something in our lives. But when only 5% of us actually get there, why? What happens to the other 95%? We all want it, so what happens? And what I'm going to suggest today is how we can do that. There's three simple things. Three simple things if you set yourself up with that will lead you to that true success. And I'm going to call them the 3 Ps. 3 Ps. 3 Ps. Thank you. The 3 Ps. The first one is something you already know about. It's positivity. Everyone knows we need to be positive. Everyone knows not to be a Debbie Downer. And Thad and Mike often talk about it in sales meetings. They talk about being positive. And a lot of this starts initially with the words we use. And we've talked about this before. We've talked about the get to or the have to, right? Maybe you've heard about this. Maybe you've read about it in books. But sometimes I hear agents say, I have to go to this closing. What? You have to go pick up a $20,000 check? I feel so bad for you. Simple word choices by changing that have to get to are going to make a big difference in how you approach your day and how people approach you. Think about it. Think about the last person you asked, how are they doing? How are you doing? I hear a lot of times, fine, okay, just a grunt. Change that. If you're the person responding, it's not about sugarcoating what's going on in your day. It's not like pretending that pain doesn't exist. But studies show that when you change the language you use from how are you doing and responding fine, you change that language to great. My day is great. That person wants to continue talking with you. And internally, psychologically, it makes you feel better. And it's going to change the way you approach your next conversation. There's a guy I know, and some of you in this room actually know this guy. His name is Mike. And so I went to college with Mike. Mike, really friendly guy, all the time. But I would say that in college, I didn't really know how successful he was going to be. And an example would be during the Winter Olympics one year, instead of actually going to class, he decided to throw a 2-week party in his room. Legitimately, a 2-week party. So I wasn't sure when we left college what was going to happen, but I recently connected with him. And we connected on Facebook, and we connected on Instagram. And over the last 6 months, I've been watching what he's doing. And he actually is successful. I don't think he's part of the 5% yet. He's probably working towards it. But one of the things that struck me about what might be a tiny piece of how he's been able to get where he is today is his positivity. So what Mike is doing, well, let me go back. If you saw Mike, you would not say, Mike, you look like a runner. You would not assume that he might be running and training for a half marathon, or a 5K, or a 2-block sprint. You might not assume that, but what Mike is doing is every day, and sometimes twice a day for the last 6 months, he's been running. And he's running to raise money for St. Jude and the St. Jude Half Marathon. And so every morning he posts. And he posts about his run, and what's really cool about this is the language he uses, because a lot of times, if we're burdened, and we hear this, I have to get up and run today. He uses language like, I get to run today because others can't. And he says things like, it's 4 a.m., I can't sleep, I might as well work towards raising money for those that need it. Is that a positive person or what? When other people might be posting or talking about how bored they are, about how they don't want to get up at 4 a.m., how they don't want to run sometimes twice a day. So Mike is a good example of using the language. Another person that we talk about, or maybe you've seen, is Sean Aker. Do you know Sean? Personally, probably not. Okay. Sean has a TED Talk that is legendary. He talks about happiness. He has a book called The Happiness Advantage, and what Sean has shown is that daily habits in positivity will actually lead to your success. He has 5 of them, but one of them that I'm going to suggest to you, and one of them that Ninja teaches, is writing your gratitudes. So your gratitudes, every morning, what Sean says is to wake up and write down in a journal, on a notepad, wherever it is, write down 3 things you are grateful for. And don't cheat yourself. Don't do the same ones every day. Write down 3 new things that you're grateful for every day, and that will change the way you start your day. And for those of you that are doing it, you know how it affects you. You start on the positive side as opposed to reading the news. I didn't say anything, I just said the news. Another person who's a great example of gratitude, there's a guy named Neil. And Neil also has a great TED Talk out there, and he's written a couple of books as well. And Neil, in his mid-20s, I'm not going to spoil it for you because I want you to look it up. Neil, in his mid-20s, went through a series of events within about a month that would crush most people. And instead of being crushed, what he did is, because he'd heard about these gratitude things, and he put it into action, and he started a blog. And it was called 1,000 Awesome Things. And he started a daily blog where every day he posted one awesome thing. And you need to look at it because it is hilarious and it is amazing, but it helped him power through the adversity that he was facing. And one of those things, I mean, it's simple. You could be grateful, he was grateful at one point, for underwear right out of the dryer that you could put on. That was really one of the 1,000 awesome things. So my challenge to you is positivity, and it's just one small thing, one small habit. Start your day with being grateful. Does that make sense? Can I get a big yes? Yes. Thank you. The second P is productivity. So we talked about positivity, but you actually need to do something, right? You actually need to do something. Successful people do something. When we talk about doing something, there are a lot of agents that get into the business that assume that business is going to come to them. There are some top producers that assume because they've reached a pinnacle or they've reached 10, 15, 30 million that business is just going to continue rolling in. But I think we learned in 2006, which was the Disneyland of real estate, that that doesn't happen. That you need to do something to keep your business going. There's an agent who's been in the business for about 12 to 15 years. We'll call her Susanna. Susanna has big goals, but she's never really reached them. Over the last 10 years or so, she talks about how she's always wanted to hit a certain threshold, and she never has. And so I was really excited when she took the Ninja installation, and she signed up for it. I was really excited because now she was going to have the simple tools, and maybe now she would do those things. She would do those steps, those actions that would take her to success in her business and get her to her goal, to get her to where she wanted to be. So Susanna went to Ninja, came back. She had the Ninja 9, which are the top 9 things you can do, the vital few things that will lead to success in your business. About 2 months later, I talked with Susanna. She came up to me in the office and she said, "Ninja's not working." And I said, "Shh, don't say that out loud. Quiet. Stop. Come into my office." So we went into my office, and what we did is we pulled up the scorecard. And with Ninja, there is a scorecard that has the most basic things you need to do to grow your business. And so we went line by line, and I asked her, I said, "Are you doing this? Are you doing these things? Is this?" And you know what we found out? It was as shocking to her as it was to me, probably. She wasn't doing anything. So while she was saying Ninja wasn't working, she actually wasn't doing it. And so sometimes I'll meet with agents and they'll say, "I already know what you're going to say. I already know." So we know what we need to do, but we make a decision not to do them. So what is that decision like? That decision, and I would suggest that every moment of our lives is a decision. Every moment, from the moment you wake up. And so these decisions are very, very simple. You can choose to wake up in the morning and go work out. You can choose to wake up in the morning and write 2 thank you notes. You could choose to wake up and call someone on their birthday. Sounds pretty easy, right? But why don't we do those things? Why don't we do those actions? Why, instead of calling someone on their birthday, we surf Instagram? Why, instead of writing 2 thank you notes, we're on Shopbop? Do you know Shopbop? It's a shopping site. Why are we choosing not to do the things that are so easy? And it's because it's very easy not to do them, right? It's very easy not to do them. What you need to do, though, is you need to do something. Because sometimes what we do as brokers, or in any industry, what we do nothing. It's the equivalent of a farmer going out and staring at the dirt and hoping something grows, right? It's the equivalent of staring at my bank account and hoping that $1 million is going to drop in. But I need to do something to get there. And so just like a farmer, you need to plant something, you need to cultivate, and then you get the harvest that comes out of it. I know this is really basic, but sometimes we lose sight of this where we just think that things will happen, even though we're not doing anything. So I want to go back to those actions that we talked about, the choices that we make when we get up. The reason we don't do them is not only because they're not easy to do, or they are easy not to do. The reason we don't do them is because it doesn't feel like it has a big impact. Think about it. If you didn't wake up tomorrow morning and go to the gym, do you implode? If you don't write 2 thank you notes tomorrow, does that mean you're a failure? No. No, but sometimes we expect immediate results. Sometimes we expect immediate results. When we choose to wake up in the morning and they don't seem like they have a big impact, when it doesn't seem like writing those 2 handwritten notes is a big deal, we're actually making a decision not to be productive. We continue down that spiral or the roller coaster of real estate. If you don't do push-ups tomorrow morning, you weren't going to look like The Rock anyway. So what's the big deal? But let's say you start on this path. Let's say you start doing the things you know you need to do. Let's say you do get up tomorrow morning and you start writing notes, and you do get up tomorrow morning and you work out, or you do call someone on their birthday, and you're hosting open houses on the weekend, and everything else that we know we need to do to continue growing our business and cultivate relationships. You start doing it. This is the number one killer for us. You have to be persistent. You might be doing the right things, but what happens? You go to the gym for a week, and you look in the mirror. Has anything changed? No. Forget this. Maybe you've put on weight. You started writing handwritten notes, but no one texts you and says thank you. No one writes you back. No one sends you a bouquet of flowers for your card you sent. So you stop doing them. Persistence is really important because over time, they will have an impact. The perceived insignificance of what we're doing leads us to quit. Have you ever felt that way? You just don't see the results quick enough. We live in a society of immediate gratification, right? Where we play the Powerball because we could be $212 million richer tomorrow. We can have anything we want within an hour at our front door. We live in a world of instant gratification, but success and results, and that true success we're talking about, financially and health and love and relationships and accomplishment, all of those things, they don't happen overnight. They take time. They're not like the culture we live in. So you have to be persistent over time. I was recently reminded of this. I took my family on a vacation to the Grand Canyon over Labor Day. There we are. Those are my parents. That's Roy and Cheryl. Say hi. Hi, thank you. They appreciated it, I know. We went on a trip to the Grand Canyon, and as we were on a plane and we were on a boat and we were hanging over ledges we shouldn't hang over, something reminded me about time. And when you think about the Grand Canyon, how was the Grand Canyon formed? It started with a trickle of water. It started with a small stream, and on day one, that small stream, pretty insignificant, right? It was just water flowing along the rock, NBD. But over time, after the first month, was there any difference? After the first 100 years? After the first 1,000 years? It took time to create one of the 7 natural wonders of the world. It didn't happen overnight, and success and results are the same way. You have to be persistent. This period, though, where you question yourself and what you're doing when the results aren't coming as quickly as you hope for, there's a book about that. It's called The Dip. And it's by Seth Godin, who's a great writer. He's written a lot of books, and I suggest you pick this up. You could read it in about an hour, truthfully. But what he talks about there is that this period where you doubt yourself is where either success is cemented or failure is imminent. And there's a quote that most people quit before the magic happens. You're doing all the right things, but we quit because it's not exciting, because we don't see anything happening. There are no immediate results. And so we quit. But the 5% that I started talking about, the 5% that are truly successful, those are the people that persevere, that keep going. And so I have a challenge for you. I have a challenge for you tomorrow. You're going to wake up and you're going to have a decision. When you wake up, you can either write 2 thank you notes, or you could check Instagram. You could either get up and call someone on their birthday, or you could check ShopBot, which you all know about. I should have invested in them now. You could either get up and go to the gym, or you could sleep in. But you have a decision to make, and every decision you make, although it seems small and insignificant, is going to have a huge impact, not only on the rest of your day, but with time, a huge impact on the rest of your life and the rest of your career. And there's one last story I want to share with you. There's an agent. We'll call her Laura. Laura started in the business about 3 years ago. And she was a brand new agent, newly licensed, really excited to get started. She did all of the right things. In fact, she said to her managing broker, she said, tell me what I need to do, I will do exactly that. And she did. She did everything we said. And in her first year, she sold about $75K in GCI, or $3 million in volume. And she kept doing the same things. In her second year, there was some adversity that came up. And this is really where her positivity showed. This is where she had to remain positive, even though others were trying to keep her down. And she did. She woke up every day. She did her gratitudes. She followed the ninja process. She did all of the right things. And in her second year, she capped $12 million. In her second year in real estate. It's pretty impressive. She's in her third year now. And she's already gone through the dip at the beginning of this year. But the reason I know that she's going to be part of the 5% is because she is positive, and she is still doing all of the right things that she knows she needs to do, all of the things that got her to where she is today. And for that reason, she's going to be part of the 5%. I know it. So the question for you when you make your decisions tomorrow, do you want to be part of the 5%? Thank you.